Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's edition of Press Hour. We're happy to be back after a refreshing 1 month of deserved annual leave. In the wake of the International Day for the Protection of Schools Against Attacks, we are counting the number of schools perpetually and permanently under attack in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. We are mourning school children, teachers, their parents who have been killed for a cause they don't know anything about. The day of reckoning will come and karma will pass judgment on perpetrators. Yes, we believe in retribution. We talk again at a time some of these students have lost track of education. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of them in Cameroon. One day someone will take and give account of what is happening. We condemn this with all our energy. Today on Press Hour, we're going to talk about the distribution of regional and local authorities' funds. That is, decentralization continues to be on the move in Cameroon. We are going to see what the recent texts of the President of the Republic giving more money to the councils, that is regional and municipal, will add to the process of decentralization. We also know that the ID ecosystems is a big problem. Identity cards, birth certificates, and you name them. We don't have them digitalized. We still have so many people. Thousands of them are invisible. Because they don't have these documents, they have to be digitalized. That is what we're going to be talking about on Press Hour today. And ladies and gentlemen, you can be sure that we want to thank you and thank Prince Will Aduma Mokwele, who sat in while we were away. Our panel on Press Hour today, we're going to start with the lady first. Ladies first. Patience Ilango is African Programs and Community Relations Specialist of ID for Africa. Patience, when you sit on this set, people are eager to hear what you will say. You're welcome once again.
Thank you, distinguished gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. It's a pleasure to be here today.
The pleasure is shared, and next to you, we have Innocent and Kiambong Ngong, who is the mayor of Bello Council. Bello Council is in the northwest region. Mr. Mayor, welcome to Press Hour.
Thank you, Kilian. Thank you, fellow panelists, for making it a day with us to talk on key burning issues on Press Hour. And
I was talking about innocent people who are killed, who are caught in the crossfire of the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions. And I just know that some teachers, we lost some teachers. I want to describe that carelessly in your area where you are. So you are part of those who are mourning with a lot of passion, intimate persons, close people were killed for no cause of theirs.
Yes, my heartfelt condolence to the families of Mr. James and Mr. Jim, head teachers in Bello municipality that were gruesomely murdered by separatist fighters. And within a month, we also lost a second-class chief in the name of Mr. Abang Titus. The municipality is going through a lot of pain with this loss of teachers. And yesterday, we were supposed to stand again to prevent violence in the school milieu.
Yes, the International Day against attack in the school milieu. Okay. Now, I also know you were touched. We're going to come to that. The President of the Republic signed some texts, and much money has gone to your councils. We'll talk about that later. To my right, we have Joseph Desiree Zebaze, who is the national coordinator of the network of human rights organizations in Cameroon. Mr. Zebaze, welcome to Press Hour.
Thank you very much, Kilian, for inviting us here. Thank you, fellows, to be around. I'm sure we have good moments discussing on the topic that are planned today.
Yes, on Press Hour, you can be sure that the moments are not only good but always hot. As the national coordinator of the network of human rights organization, the right, we want to continue to talk about education. The right to education is an inalienable right. It's a right that nobody has to tamper with. Some of you who are of the human rights organization, what are you doing to make sure that our children, students, and innocent teachers get the education they are supposed to have?
Yeah, we voice when there are attacks against education, against the right to education. We also make effort to do some advocacy with our decision makers to lead them to secure our schools, secure also our children that are going to school, because they really need to go to school. And also for the others that are relocated, it's also important to do something, give them the opportunity to go to school. We are also pleading that maybe all those people that are relocating in those other regions should just go to school, public school, without paying any franc.
Yes, if the schools are open, because the first thing is that it's not safe to go to schools in those areas. Yes, we may have time to talk about that as the program unfolds. MacDonald Ayang is a journalist, Cameroon insider. He is a household name here on Press Hour. MacDonald, it's always a pleasure to have you on our set.
Thank you, Kilian. It's also a pleasure for me to be on the panel to share my thoughts on very important issues in the polity.
Thank you very much, and we're going to have another guest who is going to participate on our Zoom that is already open, Dr. Joseph Atik, who is the executive president of ID4 Africa. If you like, introduce him as the chairman of ID4 Africa. We're going to know what exactly that is all about. And now we are going to invite Faith Gwang, who read the newspapers for us on Press Hour. Faith?
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our press review this Sunday, September 10. We open the papers this day with the Lions clash against Burundi in Garoua come Tuesday. As Cameroon Tribune headlines, it is the ultimate occasion for the boys of Rigobert Song-Bahanak to pick up a qualification ticket for the 2023 AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire. Away from sports, let's now talk politics, still with the National Bilingual Daily. On the cover page of the newspaper, find the caption, Paul Biya fixe la répartition. The paper further explains that more than 252.5 billion CFA francs have been made available for councils, regions and other administrations in charge of the implementation of decentralization in Cameroon. This, as the Herald Tribune makes us to know that CPD and MESAM 4 members are in disarray over the use of the party's logo. Fight against HIV/AIDS municipal update highlights on US Global Health boss's visit to Prime Minister Joseph Dion Goute to review gains, while the Guardian Post simply tells us Dr. John Kengasong is on a walking visit. The Guardian Post also sheds light on the fake UNICEF deal to boost inclusive education. At the close of the 2023 electoral registers, the Horizon newspaper says Elecam announces 362,229 new voters. Newswatch, on its part, talks of the after overthrow of Mbongo and the effects on other CEMAC countries as it headlines long-serving CEMAC neighbors on knife edge. Let's now zoom in on the northwest and southwest regions' upheavals as the Guardian Post reveals that one of the frontline separatist activists, Eric Tato, has been arrested in the United States. This, as the Horizon says, 95% Amber are LRC clones activists. The arrest of Eric Tato comes at a time Amber fighters roast 2 of 3 shots to death in Munya, setting vehicles ablaze. The English language daily says, as it captions, mayhem in Boya. Municipal update still on the matter titles outraged as Amber fighters kill 3, raise cars in Munya. The military Amber crossfire, according to the Guardian Post, has left an orphan IDP girl dead. The Guardian Post insists on the armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions, telling us that the population is bearing brunt of lockdown as struggle stalls. In a further development, the Daily says there's fresh hope for effective schooling in the 2 English-speaking regions of Cameroon as Amber warlord urges fighters' parents to allow children to go to school. On that note, the Horizon newspaper has announced that Honorable Fritz Ngekai Toke is poised to promote peace and education in the southwest region, as it goes further to say it is time to rethink of schools lockdown and the future and education of children as weapons of war. On the school resumption issue, the Horizon titles Ambazonia IG encourages schools resumption, digging further to say religious leaders sound trumpet for school resumption. That's how we saw it on this edition of the Press Review. Thanks for watching. See you later, God willing.
Thank you very much, Faith Ngwang. God never fails. You can count on our Almighty God. He will bring you back next time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, you are on Press Hour and we are broadcasting live from CRTV Production Center at Mbala to in Yaoundé. And our topics today, we have 2 topics. What does the recent presidential text on distribution of funds to regional and local authorities add to the decentralization process? The next topic which we're going to focus on is ID ecosystems. What is the problem? Now we're just going to talk briefly on the first topic, which is about more competencies devolved to the regional and local authorities. And we just have you first, the mayor of Bello, to get your reaction to such an act that gives you some financial resources to better function.
This decree signed by Our Excellency President Paul Biya is a groundbreaking decree which portrays his intention to keep decentralization as a key policy in his reign. We know of being the father of democracy. Now decentralization happens to be a key policy in this his reign, and we all applaud this decree. And once ever a decree that pushes us forward is signed like this, we have every reason to appreciate and to applaud the President of the Republic to have taken this firm engagement to make sure that decentralization is a reality. We saw it implemented with the engagement to have a regional council which is now functional. Now is laying down how they can perform and how the money should be shared out. I think all of us should are standing up to say thank you, President Paul Biya, for taking decentralization as a key policy.
Yes, you were thanking him. The last time, but one time or so, you were here. Some of the people in your constituency were complaining that you had not extended electricity to their places. I know the people of Mbesa, for example, there are some of those people who said they didn't have enough roads and electricity. Have they had this, or with these funds that are coming now, you are going to make sure that you give them the priority?
Yes, after my presence here, we had a road maintained from Fotongle to Asu. Even now the regional council is still maintaining another road at Mbesa. And for electricity, the project is already ongoing. There has been compensation of the various destructions that will be carried out, and anytime soon the government is going to come in strongly to distribute electricity to the people of Mbesa. In that aspect, I still stand with the government to say that decentralization is the way forward, is the key policy that will bring development and economic autonomy to the entire country, not only to my council but to everybody.
Are you sure that every mayor would speak like you without having any hitches anywhere? You are fulfilled. That's the impression you're giving us.
In politics, when something is given, you take it and thank the president, and then you ask for more. This is a key policy. We need to applaud the president. Of course, we're standing up to still say the 15% is much awaited.
15% from national budget, from
the national budget of Cameroon.
Okay. Now, I go to McDonald. When you listen to the mayor of Bello, I think his peers, other mayors around the country, I don't know whether they should applaud that everything is going right, or they should say, wait, what are you talking about? Is it only in your municipality, or what you think that we should just allow it and then move forward?
Well, I think he's right to say that it's a laudable initiative. You know, the fact that the president has made available this special allocation, you know, 252.6 billion to be a bit more precise. That's the amount of money that will be shared out to local and regional authorities, you know, for different uses. But Mr. Mayor sounded a bit more too comfortable for my liking. You know, this money, according to what the decentralization code says, section 25 to be specific, that there is a common decentralization fund which has been instituted, and that fund shall have money that shall act as partial financing. Okay. You know, these two words are very crucial in that section.
Yes.
Partial financing, because the state itself knows that the local and regional authorities need more money than they can even give them. You know, so this 252.6 billion, you know, it's like a drop in the ocean, so to speak, if you want to put it vis-a-vis the needs that the local and regional authorities, you know, have. So while it's a laudable move, but I also observed when I looked at the presidential decree, you know, the money has been allocated in two parts. There is the general operating allocation.
That's right.
And the general investment allocation. But the general operating allocation has the bigger share of the money. Which is about 137 billion. This is money that's going to go in for payments, you know, running costs and all of that for structures related to decentralization. And just about 115 billion is meant for investment. So I thought that it should have been the reverse. Let more of the money go for investment, you know, and then the smaller part of it goes for operational cost.
I think in due course that will happen. For now, you know, they have taken right down to arrears. I think 2013 to 2020 arrears of some of the staff.
Exactly. I understand. Specifically, there's supposed to be arrears to be paid for some council executive of the previous mandate between 2013 and 2020.
Yes.
You know, some of the money will be used for the payment of salaries of mayors. Some of it will be used to run structures like the National Decentralization Board and all of that, and fund and all of that. So I understand that indeed the needs are many, but what we are saying is that they should have been more focused on investment, because that is basically the issue. The regional and local authorities have the principal mandate of ensuring that development projects are undertaken at the level of the grassroots.
Thank you.
So we can't be giving money more for people to spend to run office, you know, bogus budgets for office running purposes.
Joseph,
and then quickly, let me just say that the mayor was trying to talk about the 15%. The 15% is also enshrined in that section 25 of the general code to institute the code on regional and local authorities. That the money that shall be put at the level of, or at the disposal of these authorities shall not be less than 15% of the country's entire budget for each fiscal year.
That is, so you are reading the code,
so it puts an onus on the government to be able to respect its own part of the bargain.
And
that is a commitment the government
actually
has taken.
Transfer the competencies.
Exactly. So we are 4 years down the road, that is not happening, and we think the government must make do on its promise.
Well, it has not really happened fully, but to say that it's not happening is
no. But we're saying fully. If the government itself said 15%, they knew what they were talking about, and they knew that they were going to be able to live up to that expectation. So let them live up to it.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not coming back to you. Just to remind you, Ayang, you have the Ministry of Decentralization and Local Authorities, Local Development rather, that is giving to every council. We have 360 municipal councils and then about 14
city councils, yes, and then 10 regional councils now.
Every municipal council has 100,000 million every year, and every city council has about 285 million every year. It should be known to those who are there that this ministry gives this. You have the Ministry of Public Works that gives already close to 30 million every time. You have Public Health that is giving. Education just signed text. We should mention that, yes, we are not fully there.
Think it's a no?
We are not fully. No, we are not fully
appreciate
there.
What has been given. Yes. Don't get me wrong. We appreciate, but we are also saying that it's important to do more. And probably I should also just quickly say these local authorities cannot depend on government alone. So probably this is just a push that government is giving for them to be able to use as a springboard to get more of their funding, because the code gives them so many opportunities to make money for themselves, to get into projects that can be income generating, to be able to run important mega projects.
Thank you very much.
So they can't depend only on government to have all of the support.
No, not at all. That shouldn't be. Just a comment from Joseph Desiree Zebazi and from Patience, beginning with you. Joseph, the comment is going to come from a question. Decentralization, if it actually works, the youth will be employed at their local levels. That will limit crime. That will bring development. That will bring so many good things. I think, as a human rights, you think we will not have crimes and some of those things? Do you think so?
Yeah, I believe that if the decentralization is well implemented, you may have more employment at the local level. And just to come quickly to this allocation, I believe that all the allocation mayors are receiving at the local level, regional council are receiving at the local level, we look at them like seed funds that can help them be running, investing, but there is also an opportunity concerning local cooperation, decentralized cooperation, and there is a provision since a decree from the Prime Minister of 2011, which is fixing the modality of this decentralized cooperation, but many mayors don't go through. I think it's also calling for capacity, and I like this project that they call PNDP that was running and bringing capacity to municipalities.
Yes.
So we believe that if the mayors use, that is called good governance, if they use the funds efficiently, address issues, local issues, and try to bring up some local activities, support maybe startups and others at the local level, we will have more attractive municipalities. We will have more, even our rural areas will be more attractive. Just imagine, Mayor, that from your area in Boyo, you help maybe women, maybe trying to process milk and having some of those sub-products.
And it's an agricultural zone, and there are so many types of things that are grown there. And thank you for that contribution. Patience, just a comment at your will on decentralization. All of us need a certain level of autonomy. That is what decentralization
absolutely
is.
And I just want to say, since you've indirectly called upon the role the youths could play if they're employed, I would underscore the need, and since the mayors have been thinking about it, for the capacity building part of it all. We've got to educate, train them. Thank God we have the 2020 law that helped establish the national school
local administration.
And I know that we've had some questions about your staff in the field at different levels, and we're pleading that maybe we should zoom in on that too. And so we hope that the money being put at your disposal too would not only go for investment, invest in human resources amongst other things, but we want to see physical, palpable change. And of course, we remember that there's a special status side of it all. There are realities on the ground which ought to be handled. So if we're going to talk about development, sustainable development, we got to think about other things.
Thank you, Patience. And it was not by accident that I brought you at the end of the contribution on this topic. We're going to move straight forward into the second topic, which is about ID ecosystems. You are the African Programs and Community Relations Specialist of ID for Africa. ID for Africa. And this week, at the end of the week, on the 16th of September, you're going to have the International ID Day. Do you confirm that?
Oh, yes.
Can you just briefly, what is ID for Africa?
Well, it's a non-governmental organization known at international levels that works hand in glove with governments. Reason why you'd hear about what they call the ambassadors program. And we work for robust identity ecosystems at national and international levels. But in line, it's referencing, the work we do is in line with Sustainable Development Goal 16.9. But when we talk about 16.9, which states that we should all move towards the acquisition of proof of identity by 2030. It's not just about what you have. Let me break it down. It's not just about birth certificates, proof of your birth certificate. Once you have that, what happens? That's the foundational ID that now gives way or possibilities for you to get a legal identity eventually. And you know that once you have all of that, you can go to school. So education comes into play. Your whole life revolves around your foundational ID, your legal ID, and then the other types of IDs, which would open up the possibilities for you to benefit from the social amenities you need, economic-wise. You can say, okay, I dare this, I can work, I can not only go to school, I can travel, I am secure, amongst other things.
Yes, let me stop you there. We're going to get into birth certificate. We have a mayor here. They are directly involved in this issuing birth certificates, the first certificate that every human being has when they come to this world. But we have the problem of a national identity card that we obligatorily we're going to treat this topic in our subsequent editions of Press Hour. But for today, we're going to treat ID in general, the birth certificate, national ID certificate in relation to the work of ID for Africa. And as I speak, we're going to contact the executive president of ID for Africa, who is already on our Zoom line. If my producer confirms that he is online, can you confirm? Can we see the executive president, the chairperson of ID for Africa? Yes, I have Dr. Joseph Atik right there. And the first question, we are not going to ask a question first. It's our honor to have you on Press Hour today, sir.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yes, you can be sure that we are happy to have you connected to Press Hour this day. ID ecosystems should be a big, sophisticated problem that is getting actually difficult by the day. That is certainly why you came up with this initiative of ID for Africa. Talk to us about why this initiative, Dr. Joseph Atik.
In fact, the ID Day initiative, which we launched in 2018, was built on the ID for Africa initiative, which ID for Africa initiative was launched in 2014 with the idea that we, by 2030, we need to give everybody on the continent legal identity, which they can use to participate in society and to conduct their daily activities, exercise their rights, and in fact honor their obligations. So we recognized about 10 years ago that identity is one of the core pillars of development in the whole world, and particularly in Africa, because at that time, more than 60% of the invisible people in the world were in Africa. And so we launched the ID for Africa initiative because there was a big need for it. And we knew that digital identity could solve this need. However, we needed a mechanism to sensitize the population about the importance of participation in identity systems. So we felt that having a commemorative day, which every year allows the organizations of identity, allows the governments, allows the non-governmental organizations and the civil society to get together and look at the progress they have made in making the invisibles visible, but also to educate the population why is it important for them to claim their identity. That's why we called for Identity Day to be recognized. And of course, as you may know, the specific date is very symbolic, because 16.9 is the Sustainable Development Goal that says identity for all by 2030. So,
yes, Dr. Atik, you are talking here about ID ecosystems. Let us know what you put into this basket of ID ecosystem.
Clearly, the most important element of the ecosystem consists of the civil registration and the national ID registers. Those tell the government that this person was born, where was this person born, l'état civil, basically the civil register, but also the register when the individual receives an identity, hopefully digital identity, which allows them either through an ID card or through a mobile or through on the cloud to be able to claim their services and their participation. So registers are number one. Number two, people need to have proof of ID. So they need to have tokens of ID, which are various mechanisms, receipts, ID cards, mobile phones, so on and so forth. And then the third element for the ecosystem needs to be the participation of the private and public sector service providers to rely on the identification system when they offering services. So it's very important that all sectors, those who supply identity, like the identity authorities and the civil registers, as well as those who consume identity, such as health, banking, social protection, the private sector, and the government sector, education, etc., all participate to provide and consume identity.
Yes, Dr. Joseph Atik, just stay on the line, please. Don't go away. You've raised a number of points there that I like the panel here on the set to talk about them before we come back to you. There are certain issues that he has raised. I know you will point out some of the things. You will not imagine he's talking about the fact that we have so many people, over 200 and how many million?
850 million persons worldwide.
Worldwide,
majority in
Africa.
Yes.
Out of 800, over 800,
yes,
over
Africa.
200 of the 800 are in Africa.
The majority.
And you will not imagine he's calling them invisible.
Yes, the invisibles. Take for example, just for example, let me take you to the East region. Let's get into the forest zone. Are you sure that your fellow brothers and sisters are identified? You know, you might be born, you can do everything you want to do with us here, but if you don't have that legal recognition, identification, what can you do? You understand what I'm trying to say? Can you go to school? No.
You cannot.
You can't.
And if you are traced, you will not be found, because
yes,
actually I think that's why you're talking about
yes,
invisible.
no, it's not just that. Look at even the internally displaced. Look at the crisis around the world. When you move and you have to move suddenly and you left everything behind, and maybe you don't have any trace of your digital ID because there was no digital ID system where you came from, what happens? You're lost. You understand?
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. For example, on the trip to New York once, the UN General Assembly, there was a year about 5 or 6 years ago. One of the things I learned was where all the data of the UN was stored away from New York, apart from New York where it was gathered. Meaning that if anything happens to any archives they have, for example, those can be traced. Imagine if you had what they call an interoperable ID system, where when it comes to school, we can just click the database, a central system, for example, where if you want to check, okay, is this certificate or degree, proof of degree, is it authentic? You just tap and you can track, okay, when was the person born? Nothing has changed, for example. It comes with time. Things are changing. That's why we even have data protection laws, amongst other things, because it's the French will say c'est un triptyque. So you talk about inclusion. Can our brothers of the East, or those nomadic grunts, our Boro brothers, are they all registered at birth?
This is just an example you're giving.
Just an example.
Yes, because
even around
all over the
Okola,
country.
in the
Yes,
center region.
you're not sure that you have people.
Yeah.
The mayor of Bello, Mayor Innocent, you are the ones who give the first certificate that performs part of this ID ecosystem. What is the situation generally, and especially now that you have crisis in your area?
Recently, with the decentralization process, mayors are going to play a key role, even with the identification cards and birth certificates. The President of the Republic have just decentralized that to mayors. So our consultants should also know that now, like this, mayors are pivotal in the identification process, from birth certificate to identification process. So, and coming back to I want to applaud the importance of this digital identification cards. In Bello last week, I had a landslide that involved 58 families sweeping their families and all the family archives. Some of the birth certificates are not produced in Bello Council. They were born either in Yaoundé or Douala. So the people now are without any identification document.
Yes.
And such a digital identification paper would have easily helped me to track back all of these people that are now without identification cards.
This is very important. McDonald's, the problem we have now with ID cards in Cameroon is that the authorities responsible for issuing the ID cards have found out that most Cameroonians have double identity, or either it is name, it is date of birth, it is one other thing. How can this be possible, what the mayor is saying, that at national level is difficult? Is it at regional level that will be easier?
I think what he's saying is the fact that it's important to have the civil registration and vital statistics system digitized. That is the first important thing, because if we have a centralized system where health centers, hospitals, and other health facilities are connected to the civil status registration office, where if a birth happens now, it automatically indicates that a child has been born in this health facility, and the civil status registration office has to take note to start establishing a foundational identity for this child. If we have that system in place, it will be easy to trace cases like the ones he just mentioned. What was lost was a physical document, but if you were in a digital format, you would go to the database and retrieve the details and print out a physical certificate if you want to. Now, quickly, the campaign about the identity is very, very preponderant. It is very, very important, because if you follow the international development discourse now, identity has a very, very important role, because the world has reckoned that development in all facets can't happen without people having legal identity.
Yeah,
we should, while we campaign for all of this, for a day to be instituted to recognize identity, our government has the responsibility to quickly sort out our national ID issuance system. It's a big problem.
It's a big problem. That's why you have
it has to begin from there. Let government, I don't know whether they should declare a national emergency on ID card issuance, because it's really a problem.
We're going to approach the authorities responsible for that. I will come back to you, Mr. Zebaze, Joseph Desiree, to talk about this as a human right. But what Patience has raised, the Mayor Innocent has raised, and you are emphasizing on, it's what we should go back to Dr. Joseph Atik. If he is still with us, we said he should not go away. Patience is your collaborator here in Cameroon, based in Cameroon, working with you. Now, let us ask you, this initiative lays emphasis on digital ID ecosystems, as we have heard from all the panelists here. In Cameroon, for example, they are telling you that identification is double identification, for example, is a common problem. Why do you lay such emphasis, I mean, your organization, ID for Africa, on digitalization of ID ecosystems? Doctor?
Identity is part of a bigger transformation that is happening in the world, which is the digital transformation. Everything in the universe, in our world, in our countries, in our even local communities, is transforming into a digital version of it. So digital has a lot of advantages, allows you to conduct your transactions without having to use physical infrastructure, without having to go. It saves you time. It allows you to conduct at a distance from the convenience of your home. It's much faster and the transaction cost is lower. And you don't need to build offices and bureaus and areas for big highways to make cars spend more gasoline and carbon dioxide and all that stuff. The digitalization of service is about servicing the people at any time, 24 hours a day, from any point, on whatever their needs are. You don't go to the bureau to ask for services. The bureau is accessible to you at your fingertips. But in order to do that, in order to live the digital transformation and realize its economic benefits, you have to have a digital identity in order to allow the people to participate. You cannot simply say who you are on the digital platform, because there will be fraud. There's no way to verify. So in order to realize the potential and the promise of digital transformation, we need digital identity. And so digital identity is your way for asserting your presence in this digital world. Now, you raised another issue which had to do with the duplication of identity. Of course, if you have a very good civil register where everybody's registered from the beginning, then there will be no duplication. However, unfortunately, in many countries in Africa, that is not the case. Maybe in the future, the children who are born from now on, we can register every one of them. But the people in the past were not registered, or if they were registered, the records were lost. So what do? You do a biometric registration, and biometrics allows the registration authority to ensure the uniqueness of the identity. The person exists and they are unique. Biometrics use your fingerprints or use your face or the combination of the two in order to establish the uniqueness of the identity, and the individual would be issued a unique ID number.
Yes, one last question to you, Dr. Joseph Atik. One of our panelists here, McDonald Ayang, just said that for us to have something actually in the direction you are taking, we need a kind of emergency. And we know that you are preparing to go to the UN General Assembly that is coming up very soon. What now that it's this way, it is highly political. What is the message you're going to take to the UN General Assembly to make sure that what we are talking about, what you are out to do, is achieved?
Exactly. You raise a very, very important point. Basically, our movement, ID for Africa, has been a grassroots movement, has been driven by the 48 countries who are members of the ID for Africa movement. Cameroon has been a member from the beginning, and who are working together to raise their voices to establish an agenda which is specific to the developmental needs of Africa. And that agenda calls for the African countries to assist each other to develop identity systems that drive their economy and that can interoperate with each other in order to establish the free trade relations, regional and continental free trade agreements that they would like to have. So the future must be controlled by the Africans themselves, by the African nations and countries themselves, because that's their needs. But you are right, we need the political will. We know what needs to happen, what needs to be done, but you cannot do it without the support of the political will. We have been getting significant amount of African political will. Even presidents attend our annual general meetings and give speeches and endorse what the agenda is and support what we're doing. But we need to take the voice to the international community, because the international community takes the issue of identity for granted. They are born with an identity, and they have identity cards, they have digital identity on their mobile phone or on the internet, etc. So they take it for granted. For us, Identity Day reminds us of three things: get identity for those who do not have it, protect the identity of those who have it, and make sure everybody can use their identity for their benefit.
Yes, Dr. Joseph Atik, the chairman of ID for Africa. We want to appreciate your availability. Thank you very much for accepting to talk to us and explain these things to us on Press R.
Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
Very interesting lady and gentlemen. I'm going to come to, yes, you want to react immediately, okay. But I promised that I was going to come to Joseph Desiree Zebaze immediately. He finishes speaking. From what he's saying, from what this other panelist said, having an identity card, having a birth certificate, having some other civil status registration documents, it's a human rights. What are you doing as the coordinator, national coordinator of human rights organization in Cameroon, to make sure that every child born, every Cameroonian has a birth certificate, has an identity card? That is a big problem we are talking about in our country.
Yeah, I think we are a campaign partner of IG for Africa, and what we concretely did this year is that on the 20th of May of this year, we released a position paper of our network on the national identity system in Cameroon, because I think they believe the campaign is just raising awareness. When we come at the national level, we should make our own checkup and know that, for example, when you have no identity, there's a big risk of being statelessness. So that is the first problem. But when you push at the national level, you can see that we really need to have, because the taxation, when you go to the taxation, you have a unique identification number for the taxation, but you don't have it at the civil status. So it's important to build a finished biometrics that give you the opportunity to have one ID. Because if you check Kilian, maybe you are now, from the day you were born, you have changed your identity card twice or three times.
No, not change. I have renewed.
Yeah, you have renewed.
I've had only one birth certificate.
So when you renew your identity card, you see that the number change. we really need a unique number, identification number, and we should also make sure that all the operational and logistic failures that are around the ID system in Cameroon, we can put them down, because we released a document of 6 pages, that position paper, that were resuming all the problems faced by the population, and we address it to the authority. So we really bound what our partner is saying, and it is our responsibility at the local level, as NGOs, as mayors, local authorities, and also as the other decision maker, to make sure.
You know, they cry about ID cards, especially out there, and you say you are talking to the authorities concerned. Is it that you are not talking enough, or that you are talking to the wrong people?
No, I believe maybe you didn't have the chance to read the position paper. We addressed it today.
It's just a paper.
Yeah, 6
Can
pages.
we not do something more than a paper? That is the question I'm asking.
Yeah, it's the study of 6 pages that resume all the problems that we have, and we come up with proposals. Some were addressed to the head of state, some were addressed to the national delegate in charge of the police, so, and also for the population, because there are things that they cannot come and do for you. You are the one to declare the birth of your child, to make sure that it is done. And we believe also that if we have a a system that registers people directly and automatically,
yes, and
also
digitalizes it.
Digitalized.
Okay.
It will work also.
Okay, McDonald, you have been so itchy after the intervention of Dr. Joseph Atik.
Exactly. Dr. Atik said something very important. He talked about the political will.
Yes.
You know, I have the impression that there is no political will in Cameroon to fix the ID card problem.
There is.
Or probably there is a misplaced priority. How do you explain to me the fact that you digitize or you expedite the process for the issuance of passports, you know, and then you leave ID cards, whereas the ID card is a prerequisite for a passport? For me, I think it's a misplaced priority. It's important for us to begin from the base, and that's why I think that we should begin from the birth certificate issue. We should clear all the roadblocks. There are a lot of hiccups. I applaud the government's efforts, you know, in trying to advance the digital ambitions, you know, digital economy drive and all of that. Digitizing or facilitating the passport issuance process is very laudable. In fact, we have one of the most expedient passport issuance systems in the world, within 48 hours.
May I also inform you?
So it's a very good thing
that the same authority that did that is working on ID cards. And the first obstacle is that ID card concerns all Cameroonians from 18 years.
Exactly.
And the passport does not concern. The passport doesn't concern all Cameroonians.
So that is exactly my point. Yes, why do you go for a credential that involves a lesser number of the population?
It means
how many people go for passports?
Without justifying,
how many people go for passports?
There are fewer than those who go for ID card.
Everybody has to go for.
We mean that to do that for ID card is heavier.
But the resources are there. Do you know that there is the President of the Republic launched a tender or gave a directive to get a new ID card provider in Cameroon since 2021, but the project is still in the doldrums.
Can I?
You know, the PM even said it in Parliament.
That is still in process.
Yes, the PM even said in Parliament early this week.
Yes,
early this year. Sorry, that the project is going to be resuscitated. So I think it is an issue of urgency. The ID card issue.
We have 6 minutes, and we have the mayor. We have Patience. We're going to pass through Patience to the mayor. Your chairperson, your chairman, raised so many issues there, and you had your General Assembly in Kenya not long ago. What is the way forward from Kenya through the UN General Assembly? Where are you taking Africans in general and Cameroonians in particular to when it comes to ID ecosystems?
Let me be honest. And let me say this, that in many countries, since I handled the African side of it, identity coverage continues to be less than optimal, partly because of the unawareness of the citizens. You understand, of the transformative power of your ownership of that card. The person in the forest doesn't necessarily know. I remember in the days of elections, I went there and I tried to talk and I had to translate, local language, and you could feel I was frustrated because I knew what was coming. Yes. So what we're trying to say is you've got to raise awareness. Number two, having worked with elections too, let me just state this. I remember how difficult it was for Cameroonians who want to change everything overnight, who are, I usually say, over-sabi for everything, to go and pick up their cards even after they've gone to, request for an identity card. They've gone through the process, which besides has been computerized. So it's a process, there's a course already. While waiting for the final digitalization approach and interoperability, let's at least acknowledge that is happening. And so we're saying this. One, it's a movement. That's what I call a movement. All of us, we raise awareness, we play our roles. Let's own identity. Are we conscious of the power? Are we living the realities of not? COVID should have been a lesson to all of us.
Thank you. Now we have 3 minutes left to go, and we're going to use these 3 minutes, beginning with you, Mayor Innocent. We look at the advantages of digitalization of ID ecosystems, birth certificate and national identity card and the rest.
Yeah, the big advantage to every council is to make sure that we know where everybody is, and it will also help us in planning. My comfort also go to the victims of Abambang landslide in Jinigijam in Bello, where they lost all their digital all their document, ID cards, birth certificates, and these digital documents would have helped us to directly trace their statehood, as we were saying.
Yes.
Now like this, they can don't have any, very difficult.
Yes, Mark, the Dr. Joseph Atik was calling some people invisible people, which means that you will not trace them. If they commit crimes, they can easily get missing. Apart from this, there are other advantages of making it digital, the ID ecosystem.
Yes, there are so many other advantages. one quick one is you don't need to carry physical document around. You don't need to have the inconvenience of carrying an ID card or having to show your ID card wherever you go. You just need a digital version to say, it can be scanned, it can be verified from your smartphone, from your mobile device.
Thank you.
So and you can also have access to many more services, including online. Apart from physical services that you require, you may require, you also can easily carry out services online. You can pay for purchases online. There are a lot of things you can do with digital identity.
Yes, I think with this digital identity, you can also be sure that you will not be assaulted by the forces of law and the others, because they just need to introduce yourself. Maybe you touch a screen and your identity just appear.
Yes, thank you. Patience, you're going to have the last word. The advantage.
All the advantages are there. A child who is born in this era has more advantages than you and I. Anywhere in the world, he can sit and go to school. At least he's registered online. Compared, for example.
Very important.
His statehood is assured. At least if something happens and he moves, you can easily track him down online.
Yeah.
You understand? I hate to use the word track, because at the same time, ID fights against the dark side of identity. Facial recognition is the positive. And besides, I should say Dr. Atik is the grandfather of biometrics, and he's the one who practically initiated the facial recognition, and so he knows what he's talking about. But what I want to say is this, please. When it comes to managing your finances, you can easily monitor.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you.
Use it, for example, apart from that.
Thank you.
But on the 15th and 16th,
yes,
let those Cameroonians and all those agencies we've been working with, Mark has been on a member of the
Thank you,
AGM.
Patience.
Join us for
I'm told that we have consumed all our time. Thank you very much, Patience Lango, African Programs and Community Relations Specialist for ID for Africa. Thank you very much, Innocent Kiambongong, Mayor of Bello Council, Northwest Region. Thank you, MacDonald Ayang, who is a journalist, Cameroon Insider.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joseph Desiree. Zebaze, who is the National Coordinator, Network of Human Rights Organizations in Cameroon, and particularly to Dr. Joseph Atik, Executive President of ID for Africa, who participated on Zoom. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what we made time for you on Press Hour. Today there will be a rebroadcast on Monday at 2:30 for those of you who missed anything on the way.